I had probably the most hated job of the face of the earth. My hours were awful, my pay was shit, it sucked all around. I was a telemarketer, not only because I wanted to be, mind you. Believe me, I hated calling people when they were in the middle of dinner, getting scolded for trying to call people at ungodly hours, getting sworn at, and getting hung up on. However, the sad fact is I was a majority of the philosophy back in college, and I could not really do anything with it. Telemarketing was sadly one of the only jobs that paid the bills for a guy like me. I was not lazy. I would have loved to be in a better line of work. This job always felt as if it was sucking my soul out, and the nights felt left me too exhausted to try and find another job. Not to mention that I had nothing else to put on my resume, so I doubt that anyone else would hire me. I only found the guts to quit that telemarketing job after one particularly bad night in early 2008. I remember having a horribly bad night of calls. Several people had done everything from yelling at me to holding their phone up and screaming the scene from The Exorcist. Who really cared if these people planned to vote for a president? I did not even plan to vote myself. I was not into politics. So why should I care if these people were? Because it was the only way I was getting my paycheck. I hated myself for it. I remember going down the list of numbers to a cell phone number, Monique with Winifred. I muttered out under my breath that I dreaded to call. I hated phone calls the most. Lord only knows where they would be and what kind of horrible shit that they would try to pull. Not to mention if this woman was at a concert or something. She would have to be screamed like before I could hear it. Now I know it sounds like paranoia, but I have been through a lot of that kind of shit before. So many times. I considered skipping over it entirely before I half-heartedly dialed the number and waited for the rings, counting them in my head. Between 4 and 6 rings, there were usually the answering machine came in. Whenever I heard more than 8, I would just hang up and write down as unavailable. Cooperate policy said that I should wait until 10, but I knew pencil pushers upstairs really did not pay attention to these kind of things. I managed to court to 6 before the phone was answered. I sighed to myself, and at least the kid was quiet on the other end. No annoying rock show or anything in the background. I waited for a hello, but did not hear one. I continued to listen intentionally, sure that if I didn't hear a hello, I would hear a click, and I still heard nothing. Hello there, is this Miss Monique Wim in Frop available? I asked in a couple of seconds. Even I could hear how pathetic it sounded. What followed next was in the distance. Something not so close to the phone, but still audible. What I heard was the reason why I quit my job. Thought you could hide in there, did you? You little shit. I froze, hearing the voice of a screaming man on the other side of the phone. A moment later, I heard the higher scream of a woman, and a sudden movement as the phone was knocked to the ground. My jaw was suddenly slacked in horror. The woman on the other line continued to scream. I had no idea what to do. I just sat there, paralyzed in fear. Soon her screams became mangled and sounding gargles. Then I heard a child screaming, asking for his mother to be let go. There was a loud banging sound near the phone, as if the person had crashed into a wall. The woman screamed again and through the gargling until her screams slowly fade away. The boy was screaming again, accompanied by heavier breaths of the man who was yelling before, continued to scream until I heard a loud snapping sound. The line went dead. Too stunned to say anything, I hung up the phone and gathered my things and walked out of the agency that night. I never returned. And that, my little pretties, was Bad Time to Call, a creepypasta. My final thoughts on this story? Okay, I actually heard of this story from Creepypasta Jr. as well as Glad Hatter about maybe a few years back. And that was around the time before I was into creepypastas. It was around the time where I wasn't really into creepypastas at the time. But now, actually looking at this story, I could honestly see why a lot of people really hated telemarketer jobs. Basically, telemarketer jobs are basically people, calling others, giving telemarketers. Now, usually it's scam calls most of the time, but yet again, I mean, I've get those all the time. Like, I get scam calls all the time. Best thing to do is just hang up on them. Is all you could do. I mean, I actually have taken a look at this story a few times before. I mean, it's a pretty good story for what this is. I mean, it's a pretty interesting job of how the author, went out of his way explaining why he quit. And I mean, I don't blame the protagonist for quitting being a telemarketer. Like, I dreaded being a telemarketer. That is something I would never actually do. So, that's one job I will never ever ever do because, well, I mean, find it to be boring and all that. I mean, I could definitely, agree with that, seeing that it's the case. It's most likely that. I mean, back before I was into creepypastas, this story actually seemed pretty good for what this is. I mean, it's really well detailed, although it's a short story, but I honestly still really find this one to be, a, a pretty interesting creepypasta for the matter. I mean, the way I think this is like an older story. I think this was written maybe back in the early 2010s, I believe. But I really have to say, it's a interesting story for what this one is. And I mean, hell, I even found this story, to be, fantastic, and it looks pretty great for what it is. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, this story does look like a pretty good concept for what this story really was. So, I mean, I actually really do find this story to be, it's a good one. Although it was a little bit it's something that you could definitely say that I've actually seen this happen before. You know, Something like this has probably happened before, I'm no doubt, but I'm no telemarketer, so I can't really explain this, but this actually sounds believable. Like a woman, getting beaten or killed by whatever person. I think this could be like the woman's ex husband or something, or boyfriend or whatever. I mean, this is actually pretty true, and it sounds even realistic in a matter of sense. I mean, like, yeah, this is kind of one of the reasons why I don't want to be a telemarketer, and I'm pretty sure most of you guys don't want to be that either. So, yeah, there's definitely reasons why you shouldn't really be, certain people. But yet again, I'm going to say this right now. It's a good story. I'm not going to deny it. I mean, it does have like a really good, interesting concept. Like, it's a good concept for what it is. And I mean, it's based on a real thing. And, like stuff like this could end up happening. But I honestly have to say it's a good concept. I liked it. And it's a pretty good story. Now, this is on the regular Creepypasta Wiki, and I recommend you guys check this out if you haven't. And yeah, you'll not get disappointed. It's a really great story, and I recommend you guys take a look at it. So, I guess with that being the case and with that being said, let me kind of sit here and wrap up this review, to be completely honest. So, yeah, like I'm going to say right now, and like I always continue to say, this is simply my own personal opinion, and if you happen to disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions in regards to these creepypastas, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. Before I put out the final rating, I am gonna say right now, I don't know who the original author of this story is, so there's definitely that. I don't know who the original author is, so I'm still trying to look for it. If I ever find out who the original author of this story is, I will basically give the author proper credit. If the author managed to, um if he or she manages to see the story and comments down below and say that he or she wrote it, I'll be sure to give this person proper credit. So, yeah. With that being the case, and with that being said, I'm gonna sit here and say, yeah. I'm gonna leave this story as anonymous for now until I find out who the original author of the story is, and then I'll go from there. Right now, it's just gonna be, as anonymous for now. Anyways, what did you guys think about this creepypasta? Did you enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what you have done personally to help make this story a lot better? Feel free to leave me now with your thoughts down in the comments below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode, and if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload, so that way you guys will not miss an upload. And as always, please roll the outro because I'm out.